What's going on, everybody? GemMint here. I just got done reading The Absolute Superman by Geoff Johns and Gary Frank, so we're going to do a review for you here today. But before we get into that, I'm happy to announce that I am back on Whatnot for the month of July. I've got 4 shows which you can bookmark right now, and I've been saving some crazy stuff to auction and give away. We've got from the Energon universe, 1 out of 250 ratio variants by David Mack. We've got some 1 out of 100 foils by John Boy Myers, and we've got some 1 out of 75 and 1 out of 100 Alex Ross variants for Creature of the Black Lagoon. But that's not all we got going on here. I'm going to auction off some omnibus, including ones that are out of print, like this Atlantis Attacks. We've got Knights of the Pendragon, but that's not all. If you use my link to sign up, it's going to automatically follow me, and you'll get a $15 credit that you can use right on the show. For everybody that has a first-time purchase, I'm going to include an extra graphic novel with whatever it is that you order. We've got great stuff like this Deadpool and Wolverine. We've got Gods by Jonathan Hickman. And for my first show, which is going to be on Wednesday, July 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to give away one of my favorite Omnis. This is the new printing of Uncanny X-Force by Rick Remender, and it's still sealed. Make sure you guys come follow me over on Whatnot. Bookmark all 4 shows. Make sure you use my sign-up link, and I'll see you guys there. With that being said, let's jump into Absolute Superman. All right, let's take a look at the slipcase first. So you have this nice wraparound image of Superman opening up his blazer, classic scene, showing his Superman costume underneath. Here's the spine of the actual hardcover, which we'll take a look at in a second. Top of the slipcase kind of continues the art. That's kind of weird. I'm actually not really a fan of this style of slipcase because I kind of like to display them slipcase outward, and with this one, you don't really know what book it is. I mean, you can see it's Superman, but anyway, I digress. The bottom here, so $150 is the retail price, but of course, don't pay retail on these books unless they're out of print. I got this one from organicpricebooks.com. They have it heavily discounted. And if you use code GemMint, you'll save $2 as well over at organicpricebooks.com. So Geoff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Anderson, I believe, is the colorist here. Let's go ahead and remove the slipcase. And here we have some more Gary Frank artwork. So you have Superman with Lois, you have Lex Luthor, you have Pa and Ma Kent. I like the throwback to the 70s Superman movie. And we'll learn more about that as we get into the introduction here. But once again, the spine, Absolute Superman, DC Comics, wrapping around here to the back, which you have the Brainiac nod, the Legion of Superheroes, and his cousin Supergirl. As you can see, this does have the ribbon, which acts as a bookmark. It does come with this little card as well. Polar Boy, Legion of Superheroes. We'll talk a lot about Legion of Superheroes here. But it looks like it's a Legionnaire card. Pretty cool little Easter egg there. So opens up, black cover page. You got a younger Clark Kent here. And Geoff Johns dedicates this to Dick Donner, Richard Donner, who is the director of, I want to say, is it just the first 2 Superman movies? Or did he do more than those? I know he did at least the first 2. That was a little bit before my time. I'm more of a '89 Batman guy. That's when I grew up with superhero movies. But I didn't even realize that Geoff Johns was actually like an intern and then an assistant for Richard Donner. So that's pretty cool, actually. So here's the image from the slipcase here. Clark Kent revealing the Superman costume here. And here's the table of contents. Essentially, you're getting 3 stories. You're getting Superman and the Legion of Superheroes, Brainiac, and then Secret Origins. Plus, Gary Frank gives an afterword. There's a variant cover gallery. Here are some more of the credits here. All of those responsible for this book. Here's the introduction, and here's where I learned that Geoff Johns was actually close with Richard Donner. I had no idea. And it's kind of funny because Geoff Johns was close with Richard Donner, and then Gary Frank's kind of only go-to for Superman was Christopher Reeve. So that's why you'll see Gary Frank's Superman is very reminiscent to Christopher Reeve. So that makes for a good pairing on this book. All right, so all of the issues open up with a script, and it's very cool to see how the pages were envisioned before they actually got produced. So you kind of get just like a little idea of what it's going to look like, and then Gary Frank does his thing. So it opens up with Lex Luthor finding out about kryptonite, about the different colors of kryptonite. I wish we would have gotten more into that. But this is very much a Legion of Superheroes story. So that was just the prologue, and then it jumps into issue 1. Quick little retelling of Superman's origin, which we've seen so many times. Oh yeah, this actually wasn't Superman. So this is in 3008 AD, basically 1,000 years in the future from when Geoff Johns wrote this. But it's a Legion of Superheroes story. It teases the Brainiac story that's to come. But it flashes back to when Clark Kent was a kid and he was feeling like an outsider. He couldn't play sports with the other kids because he knew he would hurt them. He was teased and taunted. And this exact panel actually, or page I should say, shows up in the Secret Origin little series there. And I had to like do a double take. I'm like, didn't I read this already? But it's during a time where Clark Kent, he's young, he is at his lowest, and then the Legion of Superheroes, well, some of them at least, come back, make friends with him, give him a Legionnaire ring, and eventually he gets visited by them again and brought to the future because there's this threat that only he can handle. I'm reading this. I wasn't really a fan of this story, to be honest. He goes to the future where there's a red sun, so he doesn't have his powers. You're basically getting Superman without powers for the majority of this arc. And it's just, again, very much a Legion of Superheroes story. And I'm not really a fan. I mean, they keep introducing you to more and more characters. And they have these very kind of tropey names: Lightning Lad, Saturn Girl, Lava Boy, Shark Girl, stuff like that. And the gist of this story is you have people with powers who didn't make the cut for the Legion of Superheroes, the rejects. They end up establishing this kind of darker version of the Justice League. And they are selling this point of Superman was not an alien, he was a human. They're very anti-alien, they're pro-human. So it's kind of like a political story in that sense. So many characters that you're introduced to and you're explaining their powers, and it's just like, for me, it was a little too much. Like, I don't care about any of these characters. You know, I was thinking we're getting into a Superman Absolute, and it has very little Superman really in it. I mean, the scenes that he is in, he doesn't have powers, and it just feels a little like, what's the rest of this Absolute edition going to be like? But I would say that the end of the Legion of Superheroes story, I did enjoy. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I mean, you could probably assume what happens here. It's Superman. He's the good guy. Of course, he's going to win, so let's not get into spoiler territory, but as you can see, I mean, although I love Gary Frank, artwork looks great, just a lot of characters that I don't care for or even know who they are. I do like how he ends up tying back into this storyline with Clark as a younger person and showing us the events that are leading up to that, what happens afterwards, and all that stuff. So, okay, so that's all said and done. Then we jump into the Brainiac story, which I really did like, man. So here is a very large Gary Frank cover here. And we get some action right away with Brainiac. This is showing us the city of Kandor on Krypton. We know that Brainiac, he likes to collect these cities and preserve each civilization, and then he destroys the main civilization. So kind of a quick background on the city of Kandor. Now we're at the Daily Planet. And this Absolute, it does kind of jump around with the timeline because now Clark Kent, he's already in a relationship with Lois. Obviously, she knows that he's Superman. We get introduced to Jimmy Olsen and the rest of the writers and staff here, the sports guy. This is the gossip girl. She kind of tries to taunt Superman, but, you know, Clark's not having it. He only has eyes for Lois. But as you can see, the Christopher Reeve inspiration there. Even the costume, it's just a fabric costume. Superman stops one of these Brainiac probes. I definitely like the depiction of Brainiac. I mean, this is not actually Brainiac himself, just one of his robots. But he comes here and he learns that there is a Kryptonian on Earth. Going back to the huge skull of a ship. Very cool design on that ship. And they even made it a point in the beginning of the Absolute that they made these pages go page to page in the Absolute edition. So you get 100% artwork. Here is, it reminds me of the Collector, like on the Marvel side, but Brainiac's collection of all these civilizations. And then here we get Brainiac. It's very Injustice 2. I don't know which came first and who borrowed from who. But yeah, so this is a Superman versus Brainiac story, tying in very closely with his cousin. And even before the last arc here, this Secret Origin, you actually get a lot of flashbacks to his origin, of the collection that Pa Kent has of Superman, the shoes that he ran through, this first softball that he smacked across town. So Superman catches Brainiac trying to take himself another city. We can see the force field going up. And what Brainiac does to destroy the rest of the civilization, destroys their sun. So pretty crazy. He destroys the yellow sun that Superman is near, rendering him unconscious, and Brainiac takes Superman captive. Now we're back at the Daily Planet. I like how, so this reporter, what is her name again? Cat Grant. Yeah, so Cat Grant, she thinks she's the big shit in the Daily Planet, but then here comes Supergirl, kind of puts her to shame. So here's Superman remembering what took place here, kind of like Matrix style, has these tubes down his throat and everything. Finding Kandor. So at this point, that's Supergirl's home world, and they think that her city is destroyed and that her parents are dead, but Superman finds them all alive. Now Brainiac, they kind of give him some muscle here. He's not only got brains, but he's got brawn as well. So this cover, very familiar. I think it was controversial at the time, right? I think they originally had them drinking beer, and for whatever reason that was a problem, so now it clearly says soda pop on the bottle. But here we are now, Brainiac, he's found Earth, and he's going to try to do the same thing to Metropolis that he did with Kandor and so many cities before. So the Brainiac story is good. This actually felt refreshing. This felt like, okay, now I can see why we have an Absolute here. This feels like a great, almost retelling of the Brainiac origin. You get a lot of background on Supergirl as well. And then some big stuff with Clark Kent's parents, which I don't really want to spoil. So we'll just keep it moving. I like how he takes Kandor to his Fortress of Solitude and he reestablishes the city there. That's cool. Again, the artwork is amazing here. Big, huge pages full of artwork. Wanted to skip the epilogue there. And then we have the last story in this, the Secret Origin. And man, what a great story this is. Once I got to this, I was like, okay, now I can see why they made an Absolute edition out of this. Artwork is amazing. All of these characters have so much heart. I mean, even the kids that are Clark Kent's friends as a child, and he accidentally hurts him playing football, and then we learn that's why he wasn't playing sports with those kids during the Legion of Superheroes story. His relationship with Lana, him learning about having heat vision for the first time, and learning about his origin for the first time. So this was really a great story. It ties in a little bit with the Legion of Superhero stuff, but it's not a Legion story like the first arc was. So Clark, he realizes after he's being depressed, he feels like an outcast, like an outsider, but once he saves somebody, he realizes what his calling is, what his destiny is. Martha Kent takes inspiration from the messages from his rocket and creates the Superman costume for him. And at first he doesn't like it. He says, "This is the last time I'll ever wear this." So here goes again. So at this is the age where he meets the Legion of Superheroes. But him going to the future for the first time, which this is now the regular future of Smallville. It's not that dystopian future that we've seen with that hostile takeover. Now where Supergirl's ship comes and he finds it as a young Superman. And also the Lex Luthor origin. So he's from Smallville as well. Very cool to see them establish him as a young kid and what he does to take power and how he plans to have buildings in Metropolis. And then we do flash forward to Clark Kent first arriving at the Daily Planet, taking the job, meeting Lois Lane, meeting all the other employees at the planet. Him going with Lois undercover to see Lex Luthor, which what he does every morning at 10 a.m. is he comes out to the front of his gate like Willy Wonka style. And I think it was even in the foreword of this Absolute edition that's what the point was. He comes out like Willy Wonka to bless one person every single day. and they treat Lex Luthor like a god during this time, which is great to see how that changes once Superman starts becoming known. He starts saving people. See, here he goes right here. Good morning, Metropolis. Everyone's waiting outside for them to pick them to make their life better. Little do they know, he's really taking people and experimenting on them, which is the first time we see Superman fight like a real villain in Secret Origin, this parasite character that's made up from one of the security guards from the planet, actually, somebody that Superman has met prior to this interaction. So showing Lex Luthor finding out about Superman for the first time, learning about his powers, immediately hating all the attention that he's getting, and none of the other papers have any of the inside scoop with Superman, so none of them are getting pictures or interviews, and they're all owned by Lex Luthor. Daily Planet is the only paper that's not owned by him, one that he can't control, and they're doing the worst financially. So Superman coming along was a big break for the Planet as well, giving Lois Lane a break. Jimmy Olsen goes from intern to photographer, kind of like the Peter Parker Spider-Man relationship. So he's got like the exclusives to Superman. Again, the artwork, the coloring, and what a quick read too, man. I mean, Geoff Johns, his writing style just flows. You could really just sit down and read this whole Absolute in one day, easily, in one sitting. I read it in 2 days, and I was barely even trying to get through it, but the Secret Origin is so good, a different kind of take on Metallo, who he was before becoming Metallo, learning about the metal that Lex Luthor has created. I want to say he creates it out of kryptonite. And then boom, that first meeting. And again, man, the inspiration from Christopher Reeve, just so nostalgic. He goes Clark and Lois. So at this point, she doesn't know he's Superman. And it just ends on such like a heartwarming feeling. Like the only complaint about this is I want to play in this universe more. I want to see them continue this. It's almost like what Ultimate Spider-Man was, where you have this retelling of a character, retelling of their villains, and they're kind of tweaking it to make it a little bit more modern, not Golden Age or Silver Age stuff. And man, so much heart in that last arc. The second one as well, but the last one had the most. Got a nice, what looks like an Alex Ross cover going into this epilogue with more of the Legionnaire stuff. And then here's the afterword by Gary Frank, which was a great read. All of these covers without the trade dress. Superman. I didn't even mention the Red Sun, so that was one of the plot points in the first arc, is that the sun of the future was turned red. It was actually turned red using one of the Legionnaires, and that's why Superman was powerless there. He was only able to fly via the Legion ring. This one had the trade dress for some reason. Get some more covers. Yeah, but a lot of Legion of the superhero stuff. I didn't really love that. Brainiac story was a great retelling of that origin, and then Secret Origin, of course. So this is pretty cool, right? You get the inks, and then the final product, and then they even take it a step further here, and they show you from sketch, concept, to what looks like, yeah, I guess is this just pencils? And then inks and colors. More of a cover gallery. Earth Boy or Earth Man, he was like the main antagonist from the first arc. Doomsday. They had a couple of Doomsday nods in here. Cat Grant strutting her stuff. Lex Luthor with his Superman suit, which he doesn't have in any of these stories. But you get all of this artwork. Nice homage cover here with steel. Connecting covers. And here's those covers even larger. New 52 suit. Fortress of Solitude. Got a cyborg Superman with Harley. I don't know why they have all this stuff. None of this was in any of these stories. Here goes, oh yeah, these are inks. Inks to color. Nice to see the traditional art still. So the making of Superman, you have the designs for all the Legionnaires, little biographies, Metallo, Brainiac. I like this scene. This was, what is it, the Metropolis of the future. Oh, here's the inks of it. So nice bonus material with Gary Frank pencils. Then we have some more scripts. They do give you a little bit of a script before each issue. But cool to see it in the back. Here's the Legion of Superheroes back in the day. Then a biography on the creative team.
This video is brought to you by Bad Music, issue number 1. Following the battle at the Ninja Funk Dojo and the capture of BB, Bad Music retreats to their headquarters at the Nexus. With the love of Laser Wolf's life as irresistible bait, there's no doubt in Queen Bad's mind that her nemesis will come knocking and she's ready for them. Will Laser Wolf, JPG McFly, and Wolfgang see the trap for what it is or run headlong into disaster? Find out in Ninja Funk Bad Music number 1,
hitting your LCS this October. All right, so my final thoughts on this. When I was first reading it, I was like, wow, I can't believe I don't really love this. Like, I'm a huge fan of Geoff Johns, Gary Frank, and Brad Anderson. And I guess I'm not really a big Legion of Superhero fans. Again, they throw hundreds of characters at you and give you more information than you need, and you don't really need to know all of that about them. I'm just not a big fan of that storyline. And then you get into Brainiac, which was refreshing. Like, okay, this is what I kind of thought this was going to be. Nice modern take on the Brainiac. Art is amazing, action, the writing is great, of course, and then Secret Origin is just such a heartfelt retelling of Superman's origin, and they did a great job just diving into all of the supporting cast, all the characters at the planet, Martha and Paul Kent. So yeah, definitely deserves the absolute treatment here. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. I appreciate you watching, and stay minty fresh. Peace.